Chapter 241. The Evil Plan of the Neighbours. Hereupon, a leading citizen of Ostracene asked the governor what he meant by that, saying, "Why should this house be safe if one, perhaps erroneously, holds this old Jew to be an arch-sorcerer?" And Cyrenius replied, "Because a weak human being can accomplish nothing where the power of the from all eternity existing deity holds his protective hand. And this house, like no other in the whole wide world, stands under the almighty protection of that deity. Therefore it is also unconquerable. Lay your hands on this house with evil intentions, and you will promptly find out how matters stand with it." Thereupon he left the table, accompanied by the garrison commander and the captain. At this, the leading citizens were taken aback and said to one another, "The governor just wants to frighten us because he has no military force with him. If we really were to lay our hands on this house and on his person, you may be sure that he would soon speak a different language. So let us arise from the table and go into the city, and return towards evening with a strong force, and then we shall promptly see whether the governor will still use this sort of language." Soon thereafter, the leading citizens arose from the table and went outside, where they, as well as the garrison commander and the captain, took leave from Cyrenius and started on their way back to the city. Here Joseph went over to the citizens and asked, "Why do you want to leave so soon, when the sun will still shine for at least an hour? Stay until evening, when we will all accompany Cyrenius to his ship as it is fitting. For he departs for Tyre already tonight, and will therefore ready and board his ship yet today." But those thus addressed excused themselves and replied, "We still have some very important business ahead of us today, so excuse us to your very close friend." Here, the little child came running over and said to Joseph, "Just let them go into the city, for their business is of a nature which must serve to glorify my name." At this, Joseph let the guests go their way, and with the little child went over to Cyrenius, and told him how these had excused themselves, and what the little child had said. And Cyrenius replied, "O my esteemed brother, this sort I know. They are jealous, and cannot contain nor control themselves from all their inward gall, because I visited your house and ignored them. But I am very calm thereat, as far as you are concerned, for I plainly know under whose protection you stand." And the little child affirmed, "Oh, the parched road shall become hot for them. They want to destroy our house even today, and that with fire. But they shall not gain the time to do so, for they shall quickly have enough to do at home." The little child had hardly finished speaking these words, when half the city already stood in flames, and no one thought about destroying Joseph's house any more. Chapter 242. He who digs a pit for another. All now took fright when they suddenly beheld the enormous mass of smoke and flames rising into the air. And Cyrenius asked Joseph whether aid should not be rushed to these terribly hard-pressed people. But Joseph answered, "I would say that we should stand aside. And besides, we are helpless to put out the fire with our natural or human capabilities. And as concerns those who lose their possessions thereby, they will meet us soon enough and at the proper time. So let us be quite undisturbed, for whoever feels a need to come here will surely do so." And the little child at Joseph's side assured him, saying, See, dear Joseph, that will make your chest of gold and silver considerably lighter also. You too, Cyrenius, will lose a few pounds of gold and silver still today before your departure. For those who were here and secretly threatened to destroy our house will soon return here as greatly humbled friends, and will ask you to give them aid. So just be prepared for that. But do not suppose that I was the one who sent this blaze upon their houses by my power. For I do no such thing, and any sort of revenge is far from me. I now tell you, their servants have done this to them, for they have already had a rancour against their masters for a long time, because they were treated in a harsh and miserly way. Today they found the most favourable opportunity to revenge themselves against their masters by putting the torch to all their stately mansions. And thus, without my taking a hand in the matter, these lords of the world have fallen into the very pit which they intended to prepare for us. When Cyrenius heard this from the little child, he swiftly asked him whether these bad servants should not be pursued. And the little child replied, "Oh, do not bother with that. For to begin with, they have accomplished a good thing with their hard-hearted masters. In the second place, they are already long gone over hill and dale with the stolen treasure. And besides, they will not escape their just punishment, since they took the law into their own hands out of wicked revenge. So let us be concerned primarily with those who will need our help. But as concerns the incendiarists, they will be attended to. Behold, God sees them wherever they are, and knows their route exactly. Therefore, he can also seize them anywhere, let them be where they may. God is also a most just judge to everyone. Therefore, he will know the proper reward to give them for their deed." Here Mary came up quite anxiously and showed Joseph a large troop of armed warriors that moved toward the villa in great haste. But the little child said, "Oh, do not be afraid. That is the protective guard for Cyrenius, which the garrison commander now sends from the city for everyone's protection. A large number of citizens will soon follow the guard. So you need only be concerned for their lodging. Everything else will take care of itself." And as the little child stated, so it was. Cyrenius received a protective guard, which was soon followed by a great many burned-out citizens. Chapter 243. A memorable example of charity. When the burned-out citizens arrived at the villa, Joseph soon recognized that they were the same lords who had recently been his guests, and asked them, "Well, my greatly esteemed lords, what happened to your important business, which only a little while ago caused you to hurry away so quickly? Was it that you set your city on fire? Or did it consist in quite another matter, which was to be kept secret from me?" At this the burned-out citizens replied, "Dear friend of humanity, do not examine us in our misery, for you can see that we are now out-and-out beggars. If you can assist us in any way, then do so, and we will be your chattels for the rest of our lives." And Joseph said, "Only Rome's mighty patricians deal in slaves and chattels, but I deal only in brothers, who are always equally my brothers, whether as lords or as beggars. Therefore I shall also assist you as best I can. But when you are settled on your property again, never undertake another such business as you plan to do today. For as much as it now hurts you that your servants and slaves have robbed you so basely and set your houses on fire, so it would have hurt me and still more if you had done the same to me." Thereupon Joseph went over to Cyrenius, and asked him how much should be given these unfortunates at one time. And Cyrenius answered, "Wait just a short time. My bearers, whom I sent aboard ship for my cash box, will soon be here. Once I am in possession of my larger cash box, we will see how much shall be allotted to those who are already here as well as those who will arrive." In a short hour, the messengers brought 1,000 bags of gold and silver, and each pouch, which weighed 10 pounds, was a mixture of 2 pounds of gold and 8 pounds of silver. At this, Cyrenius advised Joseph, "You distribute these pouches among these burned-out citizens in such a manner that each receives 1 pouch. Then keep the remaining pouches in custody for those who will arrive later. But I do not want to be present at the distribution, so I will not be recognized by all the people who will come here. Therefore, I shall now go with Jonathan to his home and hope to see you in the evening." Joseph agreed to this and promptly undertook the distribution with his sons. And Cyrenius secretly departed with all of his servants of state and with Jonathan. Chapter 244. Though we lose all, but we have the Lord. For 2 hours after sundown, Joseph was busy with the distribution, and also provided a shelter for those deprived of their homes and a means of livelihood, since only a few dared to spend the night in the city, partly because of the strong stench from the fire, and also from fear that the fire might at any moment seize one or the other still untouched house. When Joseph had thus completed his business, he privately asked the little child whether it might now be safe to leave the house and to go over to Jonathan. And the little child answered, "What do you care about the house and its contents? After all, it does not belong to us, but to him who bought it as well as the contents, which also belong to the buyer. So let us just go over to Jonathan, who surely has a good fish waiting for us." And Joseph said, "That is of course true. But consider that we have a chest full of gold and silver, and cows, goats, and donkeys. Could these not be robbed by these now very many guests?" Here the little child said, "Joseph, that is beyond me at the present. So discuss it with James, who understands these matters better now than I do." Joseph thereupon put the same question to James. And James answered, "Father, and if we lost everything and still have the Lord, what would we really have lost? Now the Lord is going with us to Jonathan. What then should we fear to lose here in the house of the governor? Let yourself be robbed of the whole earth, but keep the Lord, and you have more than if all the heavens and the worlds were your very own possession. Go now, O most upright man, with the Lord to Jonathan, without fear or worry, and you will assure yourself that we will lose nothing." These words of the Lord from the mouth of James becalmed Joseph so greatly that he at once made his departure with all of his kinsfolk and went to Jonathan. There all were already awaiting the arrival of Joseph with the greatest anticipation, and when he came into sight, they ran toward him like children toward their father, with Cyrenius in their midst. And when Joseph with his kinsfolk was thus led into Jonathan's house, the latter quickly had the well-prepared fish served up, and all partook of their evening meal. Chapter 245. Joseph to Cyrenius. Follow the Lord's counsel. After this evening meal was completed, Cyrenius ordered his crew to make the ship ready for departure. And the crew in a short time put everything on board ship in top order. James now went over to Cyrenius with the others and asked him if in his haste he had not forgotten the marvellous earth globe which the little child had presented to him a couple of days ago. At this question, Cyrenius literally took hold of his hair and immediately wanted to run after it himself. But James said, "Oh, Cyrenius, do not concern yourself about it, for what you have forgotten I have remembered. See, here in this corner wrapped in a cloth is the earth globe, so you need not hasten to our home for it." Here Cyrenius was full of joy, took the treasure himself and carried it to the ship, where he gave it to his ship's captain to be kept with greatest care. When this matter was attended to, Cyrenius went over to Joseph and said to him, "Kindly listen to me now, my above all esteemed friend and brother, for I have now had an inspiration which must be acted upon. See, you now have a great many people in your house, and a few will remain with you. Now my children do after all cause you more or less worry, and many an inconvenience, and, as I have noticed myself, especially the 3 boys. Therefore, I have now made up my mind to at least take the 3 boys with me, and to leave only the 5 girls with you." Joseph replied, "My very dear brother, do what you think best, and everything will be agreeable with me. But be sure to do all that according to the counsel of the Lord, so that everything will be for the best. For that reason, ask the Lord in this matter also, and then do what he tells you." Here Cyrenius promptly turned to the little child in deepest love and reverence, and asked him according to Joseph's advice. And the little child said, Yes, just take the 3 really troublesome boys with you. That is all right with me. Sixtus would, for that matter, still be acceptable to me, but he too is not always the same, and will not give me credit in anything. So just take him along too, and be sure to be quite strict with them, or they will become out-and-out worldlings. But the girls you can leave here, for I love them much better, since they also love me more than the boys. But I do not love them more because they are girls, but only because of their greater love to me." Upon this declaration, Cyrenius took the 3 boys and thanked the little child for this splendid advice, and then had them promptly brought on board ship. Chapter 246. Where your heart is, there is your treasure. When the ship was ready to make its departure, Cyrenius went over to the little child, knelt down before him, and asked him for his blessing with the following words. "O Lord, my great God, my Creator, my Father from eternity, who now walks this dust we call the earth in our form, as a frail human being. My almighty Lord, at whose lightest nod all the powers of infinity tremble. Oh, look graciously upon me, a nothing before you, and honour me, a worm in the dust before your infinite holiness, with your most gracious blessing. O my life, let me find all my power and strength in your most holy name. And, O ancient King of my heart, look graciously and forgivingly upon me, a poor, weak sinner, and help me that I shall grow ever more in love toward you. O my eternally above all beloved Jesus, take my love as a token of my gratitude for the infinite grace and mercy which you bestow upon me with every breath." Here Cyrenius's heart broke from sheer love, and he could not continue for tears. Thereupon the little child joyously embraced Cyrenius and replied, "Oh, do not weep, my beloved Cyrenius, for you can see that I love you beyond measure, and in this my love for you lies my greatest blessing. I tell you, if you remain as you are, you will belong to me forever, and never in all eternity will your soul feel nor taste death. But as you have now asked me for this blessing, so also do I ask you not to disclose me to anyone. This I do not ask of you for my sake, but for the world's sake, for death would be its lot if it recognized me before my time. After these words, the little child embraced Cyrenius once more and kissed him. At this, Cyrenius spread out his arms and declared, "O my eternal God, what am I, that you should kiss me with the mouth that ushered forth all creation? O shining heavens, O earth, O powers of the heavens, look this way. He who created you and me is here before me and blesses me with his almighty hand. When will you, O earth, grasp the magnitude of grace bestowed in this time, when the feet of your eternal Lord and Creator walked your ground? O most holy ground that carries the Lord, will you ever comprehend the greatness of such grace in all gratitude, breaking yourself into dust in humility? O holy place, how difficult it is for me to leave you." Here, the little child as good as lifted Cyrenius up, and did not allow him to kneel any more. Thereupon Tullia and Mironius Pillar also came over, and the little child blessed them all, and all wept because they now had to part again. But the little child reassured them, saying, Oh, we are not really parting, for where your heart is, there is your treasure also." With these words all comforted themselves and arose from the ground. Chapter 247. Only love can bear my presence. Thereupon Joseph went over to Cyrenius, and blessed him along with his whole house. And Mary also went over and blessed Tullia and her companions. Joseph then said to Cyrenius, "Brother, with this my blessing I also want to tell you the wish of my heart, which is this. Let me have the 5 girls altogether, so they may have their father wholly in me. For you will have children of your own anyhow, who later on would not get along well with these. But with me there will never be any disharmony on that account, the reason for which you know as well as I do." And Cyrenius gladly acceded to Joseph's wish, and gave him the 5 girls wholly as his own, which made Joseph very happy. For he loved the little maidens, because they were so easy to teach, and most tractable, and were of good stature and a lovely form. When this was settled, Cyrenius embraced Joseph and said, "Brother, if it is the Lord's will, then I hope to see you again soon." And the little child who stood beside Joseph affirmed, "Amen, say I. If not here, then surely in my kingdom. For I tell you, we will not be in this country much longer, because we are already too well known. But when we leave here, we will withdraw ourselves into seclusion, so no human being will come unto judgment. Just the same, we who are one in love will at all times and forever be present to one another in the Spirit. Where your treasure is, there you will also be with your heart, wherein the main treasure dwells. When I become a costly treasure to you in your heart, truly, then you shall eternally never lose me. For where I dwell in love, there I am in truth at home the most, and eternally never leave such an abode. Allow me, therefore, to constantly dwell in your heart, and I shall dwell in no seclusion for you, for only love can bear my presence, like one fire the other. And everything that is not fire will be destroyed and devoured by the fire. For that reason do I also withdraw myself from the world, so my fire will not seize and destroy it. But never in any case ask, Lord, where are you? For in that case I shall not say to you, Here I am. Instead, carefully ask your heart if it loves me. And I shall call out to you in your heart, which loves me. Here I am at home in all fullness of my love, grace, and compassion. Now board your ship in good cheer, and a good wind shall carry you to Tyre. Amen. Hereupon the governor Cyrenius took his leave with Joseph in Egypt for the last time, and boarded his ship. And a good wind quickly came and hurried away with the ship. Joseph thereupon went into Jonathan's house with his family, and remained with him this night. Chapter 248. Jonathan saves another Roman ship. On the morning of the following day, Joseph, as usual, was the first one up, and soon thereafter awakened his family. And Jonathan, who just came from his chamber to see what sort of a day it would be for his trade, asked Joseph, "But my dear friend and brother, what are you doing up so early, and how is it that you also prompt your family to arise? Should you not wait on the Lord until he rises from sleep? Would that after all not be the best time to arise in the morning? Therefore I beg you to at least allow your family a couple of hours more rest. And you come with me and with my men in my boat, and we shall make a morning catch." This offer well pleased Joseph, and he left his family rest, and promptly went with Jonathan into his large fishing boat. Jonathan's fishermen put the nets in order, and then wielded the oars with great energy, and in an hour the early morning fishermen were already at the spot that had the most fish. But when they reached this always favourable fishing spot, and the sun was close to rising, Jonathan noticed a Roman ship standing about an hour's distance away, and did not know what to make of it. He therefore said to Joseph, "Brother, I know the sea over there. It is shallow and full of sandbanks, and a seafarer of Rome can very easily have gone aground there. We should therefore hasten to give help as fast as possible." And Joseph was of the same mind, so it was decided to row over to there at once. And when the ship was reached in half an hour, behold, it actually was a large Roman ship, which carried an envoy to Cyrenius. The envoy was immediately taken on board, and asked Jonathan to make every possible attempt to save the ship. Thereupon, Jonathan promptly seized the towing line of the great ship, and then had his fishermen row energetically in his large boat. And within half an hour, the large ship was refloated. At this the Roman envoy rewarded Jonathan richly, and then sailed on toward the morning. And Jonathan turned homeward with gold and silver instead of the fish, and did not try to fish any more that morning. Chapter 249. Jonathan makes a rich catch of fish. When, after about 3 hours, Jonathan returned with Joseph and with his catch of gold and silver, everyone in the house had already risen and looked toward the still heavily smoking city. But the little child with James hurried towards Joseph and Jonathan as they were approaching the shore. And when they stepped ashore, he greeted and kissed both of them and asked Jonathan whether he had already made a big catch of fish. The latter also embraced the little child most lovingly and declared, "Oh, my life, my love, I have done something more important today than catching fish. For I have, surely with your almighty help, saved a stranded Roman ship which carried an envoy to Cyrenius. At this time a great many gold and silver fish fell into my net, so I gave up the actual fishing for today." Here the child said, "I can understand that, but since I have really looked forward to getting a fresh fish today, it would have pleased me more if instead of your gold and silver fish you had brought real ones." Jonathan answered, "Oh, my life, see, there suspended along the shore are a number of cisterns full of the best fish, so we can be sure of eating fish that are really fresh." At this the little child smiled and said, "Well, in that case you certainly do not need to go fishing any more. But I am already quite hungry. Will it take long until a fish is prepared?" And Jonathan answered, "Oh, no, my life, no. In half an hour we will already be sitting at the table." Here Joseph said to the little child, "My, but you are a regular beggar. See, we are not really at home here. Therefore, we must not act as if we were at home. So just be patient. You will get something to eat all right, but to beg like that is just not proper in a strange house." But the little child retorted, "Oh, what of it? I am at home wherever I am loved, and where I am thus at home, I surely may and can say what I want to. But so Jonathan shall not be without a reward for giving us of his fish. Let him throw his net into the sea, and he shall promptly make a generous catch for us all. Jonathan, go ahead and do that." Jonathan therefore cast a large net into the sea, and caught an unheard of number of the most select fish. At this the little child remarked to Joseph, "See, if that is in my power, then I can surely ask Jonathan for a good fish." Here Joseph was silent, and Jonathan just could not help himself for sheer gratitude. Chapter 250. The Wages of the World. Jonathan now took 10 of the best fish, and gave them to his cook to be quickly prepared. Then he assisted his helpers in bringing the catch partly into barrels and partly into the smoke shed. In a quarter of an hour the fish were ready to eat, and all members of Joseph's family went to partake of the morning meal. When the meal was completed, it was already close to noon, and Joseph announced, "Now we must lose no time in getting home, and you, brother Jonathan, will accompany me and will spend the day at my house." And Jonathan, full of joy in his heart, replied, "Oh, brother, there is nothing I would rather do, for you know that I love you beyond measure." Thereupon Jonathan again took 3 large casks full of the choicest fish, and in an exuberant frame of mind went to the villa with Joseph and his family. When they arrived there, they were greatly surprised to see that all of the burnt-out citizens were gone, and that the house stood there quite empty, with all its doors open. At this Joseph said, "That is not a good sign, for thieves appear to have been active here. They are the sort who flee when they have robbed a house, while an honest man remains. Go inside, my sons, and see whether anything is left in the house, and then come and tell me." And the 4 sons went and searched the house and found it to be completely plundered, with the exception of the livestock in the stable. The larder was also empty, and not a penny was to be found in the money chest. Since the 4 sons found matters to be in this state, they became very sad, and returned and made all this known to Joseph. Here Joseph became angry at the baseness of people, who for charities reward their benefactors with this sort of gratitude. And he declared grimly, "Truly, if it were in my power to punish such infamous rabble in a way that would hurt them most, I would immediately let fire rain from heaven on the heads of such thieves." Here the little child went over to Joseph and said, Now, Father Joseph, you are very severe today. The thieves have after all still left you me, so how can you be so very angry with them? See, the thieves have only benefited your house very greatly, in that they have thus made it clean. For truly, where in the future a house, the heart of man, is not thus cleansed, I shall not move into it. This house is now purified from all worldly dross, and thus I like it very well. For to begin with, it is open in all of its closets and rooms, and secondly, it is fully cleansed, and thus is now quite suited for my entry. So do not be angry with the thieves, that their sin may not become greater. Joseph and all the others took these words to heart, and the little child finally asserted, "See, all mankind acts towards me like these burned-out thieves towards this house. But I still do not let fire rain from heaven. And in like manner, do none of you curse those who do evil for good, so you will be true children of the one Father in heaven." These words completely becalmed Joseph, and he went into his house in good spirits.